Hello, everyone. I'm Claudio Murgan, the host of the Spiritual Inspired podcast, and my guest today is Tom T. Moore. Tom is a native of Texas, and his life experience is so extensive that it was not easy to select the most significant events pertaining to the interview. Tom has been president and CEO of his own international motion picture and TV program distribution for over 20 years. During this time, he has co-executive produced several movies and TV shows and has traveled extensively as part of his business duties. Mr. Moore graduated with a BA in Business Administration from Texas Christian University and served in the U.S. Army as a first lieutenant. He has been requesting benevolent outcomes for 13 years and has been a keen knowledge of how they can be used both in business affairs and in one's personal life, resulting in a more gentle, less stressful life. Tom is a monthly columnist for the Sedona Journal of Emergence and author of 5 books. Tom, thank you very much for joining me today.
6 now.
6. Oh, great.
Yes.
Tom, for you, becoming more aware of the spiritual realm started in 1979 when you began writing down your dreams. And after that, there were too many events that took place to consider them coincidences. Was that a major event in your life to realize that there is more than just the physical world?
Because I had read an article in the Dallas Morning News by an astrologer whose hobby was the Dallas Cowboys. And he said, well, they're not going to the Super Bowl this year, but they're going to go next year. And I'd never read a prediction like that. So I tore the article out, stuck it in my desk. At the end of the football season, he was right on about 80% of the reasons he gave. And so a year in advance, I ordered or reserved 300 airline seats down to Miami. And at that time, I owned a small tour company. And sure enough, they went to the Super Bowl the next year. And I made enough money to open my own travel agency, buy a duplex, really kind of stepped up in the tour business. And eventually, by the time we sold that business, we had 3,000 travel agents selling our tours nationwide. So that was a major event. And then along came recording my dreams in 79. And my wife and I were supposed to have gone to Manila for a World Congress of Travel Agents. And I had a very detailed dream of an explosion with a woman and some men involved. And so it was so vivid that we canceled Manila, added days on to Taipei and Hong Kong. And sure enough, on the first day of the Congress, terrorists blew up a bomb in the front of the hall, and they arrested a lady and 4 men that were terrorists. So after that, I said, I'm going to record my dreams from now on. Now, one of the side benefits of recording your dreams is that you get used to that time period when you're waking up from a deep sleep and you're remembering a dream and you're writing it down, okay? Because that's where you like to be when you meditate and do these, what I call active meditations, where you put yourself into a light altered state and then start communicating with your own guardian angel, Gaia, soul, the earth, and many, many, many others that I've communicated with along the way. So that's is one of the benefits of recording your dreams. You get used to that area of in between sleep and consciousness.
Yes, and from my own experience, I have to do it right after I wake up, because otherwise, if I do it, let's say 15, 20 minutes later, I forget a lot of details, which in the dream are very vivid and very,
Yes.
again, detailed. And I don't know
And
if, yeah,
it
please go
can't
on.
be as little as 2 minutes. if I
Yes,
if I have like 3 dreams to write down, and suddenly I say, "Oh, what was that first dream?" So yes, you need to write them down, or keep a pen light and a notebook next to your bed, and you can get up in the middle of the night for those of your listeners who have partners, so you won't disturb them. You go to the bathroom and sit and write down the dream before you forget it.
yes. And sometimes they don't make any sense, but you still have to write them down. And sometimes I don't have words for the dream. So I have to be inventive with my words. Just sketch something, and maybe later on I'll remember more details. But sometimes, honestly, I don't have words for what I dreamt.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very, very difficult to express in words, uh, because I've been told that during dream time, we're directed across the universe to places where we help solve problems, either for someone in their dream state or in their meditation, or sometimes, they're awake and somehow we come to them and we help them solve a problem. We are known, the explorer race is what we're called. We're known as the great problem solvers of the universe, and that's one of our jobs in Dreamtime, is to help people solve problems. I've been told that we actually um, will solve more problems or make more decisions in one day than many societies do in a year.
Wow. Do you think that anything wrong can happen to us while dreaming or the
No,
dream state?
I've never had it. Um, I've even at times, because I teach the gentle way to people, in the middle of a dream, I'll say, I request a most benevolent outcome for whatever it is. Thank you. And I've had lots of the readers of my weekly free newsletter write to me and say, I requested an MBO in the middle of my dream. So it does affect you benevolently.
Good. So we put that concern to rest. Thank you. Yeah. So, Tom, in 2005, you attended a seminar in Sedona with Dick Sutpen that was designed to increase one's psychic senses. So, does this type of seminars really work?
It all depends on your desire. Now, in my particular case, um, I had been to a couple of Richard Sutphen's, Dick Sutphen, Sutphen for people wanting to know his name. I had been to a couple of his seminars before, and but I was allowing my wife her own path. You can't force people. That's not good. So she said, I want to go to that. I'd like to go. And I said, well, okay. Thinking that I would just be supporting her. I didn't think I'd get much out of it. But for the last 2 or 3 years before that, I had channeled for me uh, uh, the a Indian shaman living in the 1600s by the name of Reveals the Mysteries. And and so I asked Reveals the Mysteries, is my solo contract to help this person whose name was Robert Shapiro, who had channeled for me, to assist him in his work. And I was told, no, that is not your sole contract. And I thought that was very strange. And and so, we go along, and at this seminar, uh, Richard was having different things that he wanted you to try and improve upon. And one of them was automatic writing. So uh, he was putting us into this altered state. And instead of trying to do automatic writing, I said, well, I'm going to see if I can communicate with Reveals the Mysteries. And so I said, Reveals the Mysteries, are you there? And he said, yes, I am, Tom. I said, oh, wow, that's great. And so I asked him, why was I the one pushing people to request benevolent outcomes in their lives? And he said, Tom, he said that this dates all the way back to your days during Atlantean times when you were inspired to create the gentle way. And so uh, this is how it all started, and that was 12,700 years ago. So it related to a past life for me, and for other people, there will be other reasons, but you have to have that desire. I want to be able to communicate with my own guardian angel, or if you wish, if you want to say, I wish to communicate with God. I prefer creator because creator, the word creator, is accepted by all the religions of the world. And otherwise, there's God, there's Allah, there's Visu. You could go on, and everybody says, oh, my God is better than your God. And if you don't believe in my God, you won't go to heaven. And that's not true. Creator, there's only one creator for our universe, just known by many different names.
Yes, or other people say the God of your understanding. So that covers also every single religion, pretty much.
Yes.
And you mentioned the gentle way. How does this approach still applies in today's society? How do you, what's your feeling? Do you see that people are willing and eager to implement it?
It's one of those slow growth things. I've been teaching the gentle way uh, since the late 90s. And there are thousands of people all over the world that request benevolent outcomes in their lives. And some will do it for a while and then they'll forget. I'll just do it for the important things. But no, you need to do it every day for even the mundane things. So when I left today, I had to go to two banks. I said, I request the most benevolent outcome for my drive to Chase Bank. I request the most benevolent outcome for getting right in. I request the most benevolent outcome for my drive to the PNC Bank. Request the most benevolent outcome for getting right through. Request the most benevolent outcome for my drive to Kroger's, and so on. I mean, I have a long list. And the farther out you can do these requests, the better the results will be. If you try to say, I'll request a most benevolent outcome for a space in front of the front door of a restaurant, and you wait till a minute before you arrive, don't be expecting great things, because it probably won't. But if you do it far enough in advance, as you arrive, there'll be somebody backing out just as you arrive. And some people call it their parking angel, but it doesn't matter what you believe, it works.
And because you mentioned the most benevolent requests, some of them, let's say, especially the important ones we might ask for, might come from a need, not of what we, or from a desire, not from what we need. So some might come from the ego, some might come from the soul. Are the angels capable of making this difference and act on it?
Well, that's why you say it out loud, okay? Because scientists in the future will discover that the human voice has much more power than we understand at the present time. In fact, going back thousands of years, the pyramids were built by groups of people because they couldn't do it all day. They would have this special chant, and the chant would raise these huge blocks of stone, and they could push them into place. So that's how the pyramids were built, by using sound. And we just haven't discovered what that chant is. And when I ask, well, can you tell me what that is? No, you have to rediscover it. So there are things that they will not tell me. it has to be discovered by ourselves. So, sorry, I may have gotten off. Repeat the question again.
If you said that we have to make these requests out loud, so the sound of our voice will maybe let the angels know which request comes from the ego, which one
Yes.
comes from the soul.
It becomes, and you say, I request a most benevolent outcome, okay? Because what you're doing is you're releasing it. If this is benevolent for me, because benevolent outcomes are specifically for you, a benevolent prayer is what you say for other people. And when you say, I request a most benevolent outcome, you're releasing that. If it's on that soul path that you're on, then it will come. And if you request something that's not on the soul path, it will not happen. Or maybe there's something a lot better coming along. Maybe you say, oh, I request a most benevolent outcome for this to be my mate. And you break up. Well, that's because somebody better is on the way. You just don't know it yet.
Yes, indeed. And I'm glad that you mentioned the pyramids and the fact that that was the technology and the approach they were built by lifting the stones through sound, because not too many people believe in that approach. And I think physics demonstrated that at a certain angle, those huge stones cannot be pushed up at more than 15 or 20, 25 degrees. They will come back. So yes, there is no other explanation for
and
such
also,
structures.
can you imagine how many million trees? Because they tried to say, well, let's put them on logs and roll them along. That, it tears up the logs within, just one block, moving one block. So doesn't work. But that's the ETs did teach the Egyptians the chant, but they put it into effect.
Yes, and because we are talking about technologies and capabilities. In my opinion, I have no doubt that as humans we have capabilities beyond our imagination. So let's talk about the simple ones. Telepathy, telekinesis. What holds us back from reaching this type of achievements?
Mostly belief. Now, keep in mind the pineal gland. Right now, the scientists have only know that the pineal gland, which is in the back of your head, secretes melatonin, but it actually has a dual purpose. It acts as an antenna for all types of telepathic type thoughts and actions and whatever. And so that's how it acts. And in the Hindu religion, and also we can say New Age or whatever, it's called the crown chakra, but it's actually the pineal gland, and it's just another word for the pineal gland. And that's actually what brings all this information into us. Gut feelings, that urge to call your Aunt Mary suddenly, and you find out there's something wrong or whatever. All of these types of things are telepathic in nature, and that's where they go, right through the pineal gland, and they are worked on. So if you want to pursue this, one of my soul contracts in this life is that I'm supposed to encourage people to meditate and do these active meditations and start communicating on your own. Anybody can do what I do. It just takes a lot of practice. I've asked over 30,000 questions in a meditative state, and so it just takes a lot of practice. Now, in my case, I could never have thought of 30,000 questions. Luckily I have this free newsletter, which is my gift to the world, and And people send in these questions for me to ask in my meditative state. I'm told that I'm the only person in the world that does this. And so if I were to guess, no more than 10% max of the questions I've asked over the years are my questions. The rest are all questions that people send in to me to ask.
And they were included, the answers, I mean, were included in your books, or you answered to them personally by email?
Well, okay. Well, three things happen. One is that, of course, after I sit at the computer I'm at right now, and I type the answer that I received. Okay, and so then I will have to decide where I can put that in my weekly newsletter because I'm always behind. I'm typically 4 or 5 weeks behind in answering these questions. So they come to me like that, and then I will combine. Let's just say under Atlantis and Lemuria. Let's say I ask a question about Atlantis, in 2007. The next year, I ask another couple of questions that pertain to that very same subject of Atlantis. And then 2 years later, and then 3 years later, whatever. And eventually, I will either do it myself or have someone combine all the questions that pertain to that particular subject on Atlantis or on Lemuria. And that's how the books are born. They're just compilations of all these free weekly newsletters.
Interesting. And from what we know, Atlantis went down because of them, mismanaging certain technologies, and this is how it happened. Do you think that now humanity is at the same phase where by mismanaging technology and human behavior, we can go down the same path?
No. I was told that at the harmonic convergence in 1987, we reached a vibrational level where we will never destroy ourselves again. And when I started writing that Atlantis and Lemuria book, I was told, Tom, you've had more lives during Atlantean times and Lemurian times than any other person on Earth. It's about 180 for Atlantis and 65 for Lemuria. And I asked, why so few in Lemuria? Well, it's because they were a much more gentle society all the way up until the last 1,000 years of their existence when the countries on the continent started warring with each other. So that's, but no, we will never destroy ourselves again.
So, in other words, consciousness won't allow us to be destroyed or destroy ourselves, as you said. Perfect. That's good news. And
right.
staying on
I'm told this Ukrainian war will be the very, very, very last one for Europe.
Yeah, we all hope so. That it's a pointless destruction and loss of lives.
In my weekly newsletter, I have a benevolent prayer that I ask people to say each week for ending the fighting in Ukraine.
Thank you. And stay on the subject of past lives. Do you remember which one was the most exciting life you had? Were you given that piece of information?
I don't know about the most exciting. I mean, the worst life I ever had, I was told that I helped sink the Lemurian continent. I was a religious leader, and we were warring with a couple of other countries, and so I encouraged the leaders to go ahead and drop a hydrogen type bomb on those two countries, and thinking that they had no way to retaliate, but they did, and it wound up these bombs wound up sinking the whole continent. And it took me 80 or 85 lives to balance that one. So that was my worst life. Now, as far as good lives, my sole interest, because I come from a planet in the Sirius B star system before volunteering for the Earth experiment, where I was a religious leader, sort of like a Dalai Lama kind of guy. And throughout all my lives, I would always incarnate as the same religious leader. And for that reason and some other reasons, I'm allowed to be one of only 2 or 3 people that have a life at the start of every single major religion. So I was one of Moses' sons. I was Salome or Salome, I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, who was one of Jesus's female disciples and the mother of James and John, I think. And I was one of Muhammad's friends, close friends, advisor to him. So I've been around for all these major religions. And I still have 2 to go, but they are actually in the past. So I will actually have lives in the past for the start of those 2 religions.
Interesting, very interesting. So that proves the point that karma is something, let's say, not tangible, but real at the same time. And we have to behave in every single lifetime if we want to go upwards.
Yeah. Now, karma, of course, most of the time they use the word balancing. All lives must balance by the time you have your last life on Earth. Now, typically, most people have only 600 to 800 lives on Earth, but I'm already on my 1,005th, and I have 300 more to go because everybody wants me to be their advisor when they're heads of countries, and there's a reason for that, but we can get into that if you want to. But so that's but all those lives have to balance, and each one of those lives have 12 parallel lives on different frequencies. And I have a whole chapter on parallel lives in each one in the Atlantis and Lemuria book, and also the First Contact Conversations with an ET book.
So in these different parallel lives, is this the same you in different timelines, different social positions, or how do you explain that?
Okay. These frequencies are grouped into 4s and then subdivided into 2s. So timeline 12 is actually non-physical, and our souls consider that the perfect life, and all the other lives are compared to the non-physical life. So I kind of dismissed that one. And so the upper timelines have much easier lives than we do. So as an example, the Vietnam War did not happen on the upper timelines. And then you have timelines 5, 6, 7, and 8. We're timeline 6, the middle frequency. Then you have the lower timelines that have the hardest lives, and that's timelines 1, 2, 3, and 4. On timelines 1 and 2, I've already died from congestive heart failure. So they can be completely different lives depending on what your soul wants to see happen.
And the outcome on one frequency doesn't affect doesn't have any influence on the outcome on the other ones, correct?
Oh, it does.
Yes.
Most of our inventions start on the upper timelines and come down to through the lower timelines. So it as an example, we're going hopefully this year to see a free energy machine released with no patent. Okay. And that's um, I've been kind of waiting. The first probabilities are really hard to understand. And I'm telling you from my standpoint of trying to understand probabilities. But the probabilities started last year on this free energy machine. And so we're supposed to finally get it sometime this year. And whoever releases it will do it without a patent as their gift to the world too. So it will be a major, major change, because even little villages in Africa or Middle East or whatever, they'll all have electricity. They'll all be able to see the internet and learn from it and take and get their education. It's going to be a great world change.
I know what, I'm so glad you like read my mind, because one of my questions was about if we are going to see the release of free energy technologies in the next 100 years. So you just said this year. This is amazing news. Yes, because sometimes when I
hope it comes, because
yeah,
they keep telling me, the 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 probabilities are there. Just take our word for it. Okay.
yeah, because when I talk to my guests about climate change and how can we make some improvements, I always say you have to let the government or tell the government to release the free energy technologies. Then you can destroy all the existing power corridors, recycle the metal, and turn all that land into forests, into gardens, and we will be happier by not having all the power lines on top of our heads.
Yes. And people will be able, supposedly these machines are going to be small enough that every house can have one, or even one house can share it with one or two others or something like that. It all depends on the size of the machine that you build, because supposedly they're going to be easy enough for a lot of backyard garage kind of guys to build their own.
Yeah, that would be quite a feast for humanity. And because you mentioned leaders, have any one of them from any country contact you to for a consultation on how they can better themselves, how they can use different methodologies to improve the life of their people?
Heavens no. They'd look, who's this weird guy, and I just don't worry about it. I know that there are things in my future that are going to make me much more known, but I can, I'm in no hurry. In some ways I am, because I've been told that my family and I are going to go up to a Syrian mothership and shoot for 14 days. And it was so hard when my buddy, first contact conversations with an ET, when my ET buddy, was talking and conversing, we were going back and forth, and I was about to close off the manuscript for the book and send it to my publisher. He had kept hinting and hinting, oh, you're gonna get to fly in my ship, my scout craft. Oh, great! Can I take some photos? Had no clue, what he was talking about. So finally, he knew I was about to send it, and he said, "Tom, you and your family are going to come up here and shoot for 14 days, a series of documentaries." So
amazing. So in this case, yeah,
we'll see.
Does it mean that you don't need any physical preparation for this trip? Is your body at that frequency that they can beam up, or you don't know?
They have some kind of little devices that are really tiny that attach to you, and it gives you your own. It's like your own spacesuit, except it's invisible, and also it can translate any language or thought or chirp or buzz or whatever in the universe. and so you can on Antura's spaceship, which is 50 miles above us, it has a crew of 900 from 37 different planets and their families, because they live their whole lives on board the spaceship. So it's 1,500, and uh, and they're taking these millions of readings every day as part of this Earth experiment with the 4 negative energies. So we're supposed to go up and we'll be able to interview bird beings, insect beings, a couple of reptilians. Antura is a amphibian like me. We're the same soul group. That's why we have an easy communication, because we're fragments of the same soul. When he has lives on Earth, his sole interest is exploration. So he was, as an example, Marco Polo's uncle, and traveled the Silk Road before Marco wrote about it. And he was Sacagawea, who guided the Lewis and Clark expedition across the top of what eventually became the United States. So he likes exploration and laying out towns and villages, all the streets, and he likes doing that kind of work.
Nice. And Tom, if you need anyone to carry your bag in that trip, please sign me up.
I even asked if we could take our 2 closest friends along, because the lady of the couple loves to take tons of photos, and I thought this would be a perfect job for her to take photos all the way. No, it's not on their sole contract. So that's the way it goes.
And you know what? I don't think anyone will believe that these photos were taken at that particular location. And staying on the technology and the believing subject, maybe you've seen the amazing holograms of dragons or spaceships being released during the football games on huge stadiums. So if the extraterrestrial will decide to show themselves up tomorrow, are we going to be able to make the difference between these holograms and the real thing?
I think so, because people will see things they've never, ever seen before, and beings and all. And keep in mind, and I know I'll be asked this eventually in interviews, because eventually I know we're going to have a minimum of 1 and probably 2 theatrical length documentaries that will be shown in theaters. Plus, we'll have over 100 episodes where we interview all 39 species of people from the 37 planets. Plus, one of the really neat things I found out is that the ETs, of course, had been following us in all our whole history. So they had these little tiny drone cameras that operate at a frequency just above our ability to see them. And so they've been around for all the major events of our whole history. And so which ones do I choose? Well, I've been making a shot list, of which ones I'd like to see. And of course, it'll be all the major religions, but that's going to be extremely controversial, because none of them are what, shall we say, their leaders make them out to be. I'm going to hold off on showing that footage as long as possible. It's going to be really upsetting.
Yeah, it's going to be a psychological shock for billions of people, not millions, billions. And this is when we have to, turn inside and believe in ourselves, love ourselves, and see the results, and then look at the world with a different eye.
With a completely different eye. And I'm actually told that that all of these episodes and things that I'll be doing will be even more so for future generations, because the generations now have been so, how do you say,
Altered,
rich,
indoctrinated.
yes, that they're going to resist what actually happened. But it'll be the next generation or the generation after that that will understand and accept this. So, and I do know I've already been told that my two children will return to internship in 10 years because we just won't be able to get to everything, and people will want them to go back and look at other events. So that's, but I won't be around. I've already been told Tom's going to leave the building before then.
You're going to be in a better place, much better place.
Yep. Well, I've already been born back on Nomo, the water planet, and I'm 50 universal years old right now, and I've just started advising the Federation of Planets, which consists of 20,000 planets. I've already started advising them again. Just started, I was told. So, and I asked, well, will I just kind of catch up with me at 50? And I was told, no, you will start as a little tadpole baby and and grow up. So that's one of the strange things about the Earth experiment, is that all of our lives going on are all going on at the same time, and we can rewrite the past and the future. So if you are a good boy, a good girl, you can make things easier for you for future lives if you work on it.
Yes, and you just mentioned that about your transition on a different planet. In that particular life or existence, will you remember right away what your contract is and what you have to do on that planet, or it has to be gradual and you have to work on it like you've been doing on Earth?
I'm told it's almost immediately available. We are veiled from knowing our true selves as part of this Earth experiment. And I need to touch on that for a second. Creator of the universe wanted to see there are 4 negative energies and then there are 10 positive energies. Our universe and the trillions of other universes are all exist on these 10 positive energies. And our creator wanted to see if the 4 negative energies could be worked with. And so our souls volunteered for the Earth experiment. And as part of it, we were to be veiled because Creator believes that we will eventually find ways to solve problems that all these other societies, with all their knowledge, because they can go back and say, well, 5 lives ago, I solved this problem such and such a way. We can't do that. We have to solve them in new ways. So just as one little example, that when I did my meditation this morning, I was reminded that the little simple paperclip had never been invented before in any of these other societies throughout the whole universe. So the paperclip was one of those first things. But we solve all these problems for people.
Yes, interesting. You mentioned about the the free energy technology which might be released this year. Do you see anything else major happening, like the financial system crash, political system crash? Anything else we should look forward to?
Well, I'm told, we'll have a recession. It can be a mild or it can be a hard one. It all depends. But there's the Earth experiment is going to go on for 7,000 more years. So that should tell you it's going to work. I mean, it is working. We have conquered this negative energy. And when we start going out to the stars, when the explorer race goes to the stars, we are going to take these small bits of negativity with us, and that will help all these societies that may be millions of years ahead of us technology, but they're all stuck at about 5.3, 5.4 vibrational level. And by having this negative energy bringing with us when we go to the stars, starting around 3250, we're going to help them start growing again. And everybody in our universe and then the trillions of other universes will eventually all use this negative energy.
So most people think that we live in a hologram, in a matrix. Is that the real definition of our world? What's your perception?
Well, unless you want to consider that the parallel lives are holograms, they're not really holograms, they're just Earths on different frequencies. And that's awfully hard to concept for a lot of people, even though there's been many TV series that feature time travel and feature parallel existences. But that's what, it's not a hologram, it's a parallel Earth. And that's and each of us are on a different frequency to give learning back to our souls.
Yes, it's a school we have to graduate before our time is up.
Well, you keep coming back. I'm told my very last life on Earth will be in 7,000 years, where I'll be in charge of the cleanup crew, because by then the Earth will be down to almost no people. And my cleanup crew will make sure the Earth goes back to its pristine look, because Earth, being the gem of this universe, will attract tourists from not only all over our universe, but even other universes as well. And there'll be just enough negativity for people to feel it when they're on Earth. So we are the gem of our universe, the most beautiful planet. The Creator loves variety, and that's why we have so much variety, not only for us, but also to help us, recognize, oh, there's a bird being, or, oh, there's an insect being. We'll know what they remind us of from our lives on Earth.
Yes, and there is, late anthropologist Hank Wesselman, who wrote a trilogy about what he saw in the future, 5,000 years in the future, and we are becoming nomads, and the geography of the Earth is totally changed. And again, there are few people. There's no more, oil, gas, homes as we know them today, power. As it's all changed. So what you are telling us right now is pretty much in line with what others have seen in their future. What is your sixth book all about?
The sixth book is called The Gentle Way with Pets, and Angelic Help for Your Animal Companions. So in the book, first of all, I have a really good review of requesting benevolent outcomes and how to say benevolent prayers. And then I feature story after story sent to me from my readers in my newsletter of benevolent outcomes that they had with their pets, going to vets or choosing a pet or choosing the food, and on and on and on. So lots of stories there. And then I start interviewing what we call group souls, but they're the same as our souls, but they just have a different interest. So as an example, there is one soul that ensouls every single dog on Earth, okay? And dog soul. And there's one soul that ensouls every single feral and domesticated cat on Earth. And when I ask cat soul, well, what about the lions and tigers? Oh, those are other souls. We like to share the work. So I interview all these different kinds of group souls, and they tell me where they came from, which typically is like the oldest part of the universe. Most, astronomers think that the universe is only 13.2 billion years old, and it's actually 25 billion. And even the James Webb telescope, that's within the next 5 years, it will be able to see farther and farther, but it won't go even as far as the universe is. It'll go about 20 billion years old. But they'll have to calculate and recalculate to make sure they're not making a mistake when they tell people that. And the other thing that the James Webb telescope will see will be this void of several million miles between our universe and the next universe over. And eventually, because there is this void between our two universes, there's two others on the other side of our universe, but we can't see them. In our night sky, we can see this other universe, but we think it's ours. But when the James Webb telescope really concentrates on those galaxies, they'll see that they're completely different than our galaxies.
Interesting, very interesting. Lots of revelations. And what do you think, or what information do you have about the moon? There is a lot of speculation about being hollow, or military bases being settled on the dark side of it. What do you know about it?
There is an ET base that is hardly occupied these days, but there is an ET base on the other side of the moon. There's also a crashed spaceship, and I'm told that my family and I will get to go visit that during that 14 days, but we will not be allowed to go on the ship because it's too dangerous. Too many pollutants or whatever are on there, plus a lot of dead bodies. It was destroyed during what is diplomatically called the Great War. I called it in the book the Reptilian War, and it went on for 27,000 universal years, which is 270,000 Earth years. And it lasted forever, it seemed. People would live their whole lives waking up in fear every day that there was going to be an enemy ship that would suddenly appear and would destroy their sun and destroy all the planets and the billions of other people living on those planets. So it was a nasty war. They're at peace.
Wow.
Thanks to this little old amphibian who suggested that they could, why not offer, as part of the Earth experiment, that 10% of the souls could be reptilian. And the reptilians were so hated and despised, and they said, oh, they'd never accept it anyway, that it went 450 more universal years. Finally, we were slowly but surely losing the war, and they said, okay, we'll try it. And so they offered it to the reptilians, and they accepted it. So 10% of the souls having lives on Earth are of reptilian origin.
And are they shapeshifters or not?
No, they're just regular old people. One of my friends who's transitioned had a reptilian soul. He loves snakes and lizards and all sorts of things. So, but he was a nice guy.
Tom, thank you very much for this fascinating information. We're approaching the end of the interview. Any final thoughts?
Well, I encourage people to go to my website, which is www www.thegentlewaybook.com. Okay. I only thought I was going to write one book, so I didn't put books. And you can sign up for my newsletter on the very first open page, or you can go to articles and news where all my newsletters since 2007 are archived, so you could see my hits and misses, and because I tell everybody I'm at most around 80 to 90% accuracy, and that's working on it a whole lot. So I'm not perfect, but when people send in questions, I'll do my best to get an answer for you.
Once again, thank you very much. Fascinating interview. I have to watch it again for sure, maybe twice, to absorb all the information you provided us with. So
Sure.
thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you having.
And to my guests, thank you for watching it. Share it, like it. Get a free copy of my book when you visit my website. And until next time, love and gratitude.